Hey everybody, welcome to another Valley Forged. I'm back to making stuff with leather. You know, I really love leather on a diode laser. It seems like the perfect thing for it to make. It cuts through it like butter and doesn't leave a lot of charring. Super happy with it. I've done a few videos on leather, and if you want to check out the one I did on maybe testing the leather to, get the best cuts, I'm using a 10 watt diode, but would be the same for 5.5 watt, or the 20 watt would probably work just as well. And I have done it on a 5.5 watt and it was fantastic. So don't worry about that. And of course, anything above, you just got to get your settings right. It's all about getting the settings, and you can really do a great job with leather. So today we're going to be making a wallet. I'm kind of going to take you through it from beginning to end. And what I did is I went over here to Make Supply. They do a lot of great leather work, and you can get a free pattern. So you can take that pattern as a PDF. I think they give you the option to buy this thing, maybe on Etsy or whatever, for a couple of bucks, and you get the SVG. But regardless, you can take it into Lightburn and resize it and do whatever you want to do. So after a little bit of trial and error, so the first thing that I did is I brought it into Lightburn. And so when you do bring that in, and you want to use some other thing in SVG or whatever, you might know by now, you just do all supported files, and that's going to give you all the different ways that you could bring that in. Now, I am using Lightburn here. If you don't want to use Lightburn, I'm sure it is just fine, but you'll have to learn your own way of doing that, because I even show you in one of my videos how to make those, just in case, you get something that doesn't have the holes to cut out and you don't want to go through the trouble of making those holes yourself. I did make a video showing you how to do that. And that would be the make a leather hat patch video. And I show you with Lightburn how to make these holes, and to make them, pretty much symmetrical and the way that they should work. Now, as far as leather goes, leather can be expensive. So I first made this. I just took the pattern as I saw it, not knowing what the right size was, right? Because I'm taking this off of PDF or whatever I'm taking it off of. And I need to kind of make sure that it works the right size. So you can use cardstock, will work great. Cardboard would work great. I happen to use craft foam that you get at your local craft store. It's pretty cheap. It cuts very easily, and it kind of folds like leather, so that you can get a decent idea of what things are going to look and feel like when they're done. And I wanted to make sure that I could fit the credit cards in, or whatever you plan on putting in this wallet, make sure that it fits. And you can do that easily with the foam and probably with cardboard. I've used that in the past. I was going to use cardstock, but then I thought, you know what? Foam just works better. And lo and behold, the pattern was way too small. It was even smaller than a credit card. But it does make a cute little kid's wallet. It would. Anyway, so I tried again. Made it a little bigger, measured it out, said, oh, okay, this should probably work. And I tried it again, and hey, I think this is the right size. So I went ahead and put some leather in there, cranked up this pattern. Okay, so what I want to explain here what I did. Why is it two different colors? Well, if you look in the pattern that they made here, this is two different colors. So I wanted to do it like this, and I happened to go over to Buckle Guy, and I bought some reasonably expensive leather. I bought a bunch of these because I wanted to do different colors of different wallets and different things. So here you got the yellow one and the brown one, pretty close to what's matching in the yellow one here. Pretty much matching what's in the video, so I figured that was good. I also went and got a lot of the other tools. I had got them before for making leather work, so I do suggest you go through the entire video here in Make Supply and decide what you do and don't want to do. You don't have to do all of this. In fact, you could just start with the leather maybe, and some thread. Sew it up, see how you like it, you know, without going through all of these extra steps. Leatherworking is a process and you're going to get better at it. And honestly, working with cheap leather just doesn't really help all that much, in my opinion. Now, what I did do, and I've mentioned this before, is I went out and got the 2 to 3 ounce for $60 here from Amazon first. And I used this for a lot of, you know, practice projects. Now, it's still not that cheap for practice projects, but leather is expensive. And I really wanted vegetable tan. I'm not messing around with any of that chrome tan stuff. Just not good for you guys. So I guess neither is foam, right? But, you know, everybody has their way. And I just worked with vegetable tan leather. I thought this was pretty reasonable quality. I wasn't that upset with it. And it gave me a lot to make some projects with. Now, because I used that to get my settings correctly, which you can go to my video about that, which is the laser engraving cutting leather with LaserMaster 3. I go over in that the different test patterns and trying to dial in my settings, which is important when you're using leather. So I really didn't feel like I needed to do another practice leather. So I just went ahead and did it on the yellow first. So here's why I did it in 2 different colors, actually 3. Because up here in Lightburn, you can turn off the ones that you don't want to do. So since I already did, I'm going to take off the glasses for this one. I already did the black, which is on the yellow layer. I'm going to turn that one off, you see, so that turns off. And I already did the fill layer. Now, as you will see in the video, I actually made a huge mistake. Well, I made a mistake as I put the fill layer underneath the cut layer. So what happened is it went ahead and cut out the leather, and then it was going to go fill. Now, that's a huge problem because when you cut out leather, a lot of times it just kind of curves up, right? You're heating this thing. Now, that'll fix itself. You don't have to worry about it. But it can create some issues. Like, hey, if it curls up like that and your laser comes back around, it may hit that because it's really high. It's, so you can take off your protective cover if you want to. Just make sure you wear your glasses so that it won't hit. Also, if you're going to engrave after it's cut, well, obviously you're going to get a terrible looking engraving. So I ended up stopping, taking that piece out and redoing it so that I would get the logo. Now I was, to be cute, you could say, oh, well, I was doing it 2 ways in case I did or didn't like the engraving, but that's actually not the case. So hopefully I'll be making another wallet with the same type of thing. But it's just a cautionary tale. Get that fill up to the top and get that done first. Make sure you have things in the correct order. So now you can see I have the black turned off. Now we got to turn off the blue because we're done with the engraving. So this thing is done. All I'm doing now is the brown, and I've got that set up in the laser right now. So I'm going to frame that up and cut out that layer, and I'll show you that as the process goes. And that's really it as far as cutting it out. I mean, this particular pattern already has the holes. Like I said, you can go to my video and figure out how to do that as well, which I had no idea how to do, especially in Lightburn. I thought I had to go out to Adobe Illustrator and do all that and then come back into Illustrator into Lightburn. But I did figure out how to do that in Lightburn, which is really, really nice. So if you don't know how to do that, you should learn how to do it anyway. And just practice and get better. And let's cut out this brown. And then like I said, we're done with the laser. There is a way, and I'm not going to go into it because it might get a little complicated. But you understand, if I was to ungroup this piece, make a copy of it, and then just make it a little smaller, I could have an edge line that goes around. Now you see in the video, they are using a tool to do that. But you can do that with the laser. You just do a lighter line. Of course, you don't do a cut line. You change the color, and you run it about the same speed as you would for the engraving, except for you make it a line. And so you will have just a little line that goes around. I've also toyed with the thought of just doing a little line along where your sew line is, just so that your thread would fit down into the slot, you know, and make it a little different. I love lasers. I love just doing fun stuff. So that sounds interesting to me. This is the way I learn how to do it. But once I learn how to do it, then I'm going to go off and do my own thing. Many of you have seen my crazy ass purses. That's where it started from. I saw something and I was like, you know what? That could be made into a purse. And it's just something I wanted to do. It has nothing to do with like a smart idea. I just think it's cool. And that's why I love working with lasers. You just do cool stuff and you can have it by the night you think of it. But back to the wallet. So this is how we want it. Let's cut it out. So at this point, you may be looking at it and going, oh, wow, it turned out so good. I'm just going to go ahead and put this thing together, at least to make sure that it looks good and it works right. I would caution you, not quite yet. You know, the difference between this, when I first, if you've watched that video, between when I first took it out and what it looks like now is very different. And there is char on the sides of this. Like, watch here, I'll just lightly, you can see there is char there. Sorry if it's blurry at all. This camera isn't the best at short distances, but there is charring, and you do not want to get that charring all over your leather. So what I would say, I have this brush for a reason. This is the first thing I hit it with generally. I just try and brush off mainly the top, and maybe I'll go down on the sides, but I'm not going to go directly on the sides because I don't want to brush any of that onto the top of my leather. So I do want to make it as simple as possible because I'm not into futzing around. But I have made the mistake of just, you know, ruining pieces of leather by getting them dirty because I get too anxious. I just want to do it. Magic erasers are your friend. So once I've brushed off the top, kind of got, you know, the dirt out of the holes and whatnot as best I can, I jump onto this. And so what's really nice about the magic eraser, you know, you could do it this way. It's hard to do with one hand, you know, but just go around and make sure your hands are semi-clean and just go around like this. Instead of using the eraser directly on it, because then you might, you know, push some onto the sides, onto the actual face. So if you do it this way, you know, just light, generally takes it off. It's not that bad. I mean, I could even probably have, I mean, this cut out so perfectly. I probably could have stood to use a little less power, but the charring isn't bad. So that'll easily come off with the magic eraser and a little bit of brushing. And then we'll be able to move on to the next step. Okay, now I would suggest just make sure whatever you're working on is clean. Make sure you have a clean surface because you're going to be turning things upside down. Now at this point, I'm going to have you follow along on the video after I do this part, because what I first want to do is make sure everything lines up, all the holes are clear, which the laser does such a great job. They're just all clear. There's nothing, maybe a little bit in there that's not going to come out with a needle. So very happy with the way this turned out. You could just put it together so you can kind of see what your wallet's going to look like. Oh my goodness, it's so gorgeous. All right, I'll have to use my skiver here just to hold down. That thing is really sharp, so maybe I want to use something else. Anyway, just take a look at that. Just right out of it. This is why working with really nice leather is so great, because it's just gorgeous now, right? Like with regular leather, it's just not going to look this pretty right when you're finished. Just beautiful. It's not oiled. It's not anything. It just looks fantastic. It looks rich. It looks expensive. And I'm very, very happy with that. I can't wait to make more. And I'd love to see what you all make as well. But we're not even close to finished, obviously. There's a lot of steps that they're going to go through in the video, and a lot of them are optional. But it's up to you, because when you get into leatherworking, it can get expensive. There's just, you can keep going and going and going with more and more tools and more things. You know, I've got this edge skiver here, or is this, which one is the skiver? One of these two. You know, this one makes the leather smaller, so you can take off some of the back of the leathers to make it thinner, to where your pockets get smaller. You've got, I think this is the edge skiver here, where you can take off a little, you know, a little bit of the layer you'll see in the video. Yeah, you can see, I don't know that much about working with leather, even though I've done it for a while. And it doesn't matter, the stuff still turns out gorgeous. Just follow the steps. It's not that difficult. Practice on things that are not expensive first. So this, you just go along the edge, and this, you know, it just makes it less of an edge, you know, when you're sticking your hand in there or whatnot. It's nice to have, but it's not a must. None of this is a must. I could sew this together right now with this thread. I got, you know, some heavy thread here from the local fabric store. So this isn't the thin thread, this is thicker. And this will work great, and it'll look beautiful. Now, all this is for roughing up the edges so that you can glue them. So I'm going to glue this whole wallet together before I sew it. And so you want to make sure the glue sticks great. You're going to see this in the video. This is the easy way of doing your marker around the outside. This is actually works great for leather. Not necessary, just something to do. And you want to get maybe some Tokenol. I don't have that up here right now, but you can use that. Now for gluing leather, Aqualim 315. It's so good. I tested a lot. This one is non-toxic, so a lot of people will tell you to get barge, but this is a non-toxic one, water-based, and it works fantastic. And most of the time you're going to be sewing things in anyway, but this is some great glue, and I put it in this little handy-dandy bottle so I can make it easier to use, but I'm really happy with it. And then you got your little burnisher or whatever, so you can go around the outsides after you put the Tokenol on there to shine up the edges of your wallet. Again, not necessary, but if you're going to make something this nice, you're going to want it to look good, right? So maybe these tools are necessary when you step up, but I would just see if you really like doing it first before you spend a lot of money. Goodness. You know, YouTube videos are so great for making people spend lots of money, and then they end up with a bunch of stuff they don't need. And a lot of this stuff I can say, you know, I didn't need. So this is for, you know, opening up the pockets, making sure you don't hurt the pockets when you open them up for the leather. You know, again, not necessary. You could use something else for this. I got the nice needles and everything, but again, lots of stuff that's not absolutely necessary, but if you're going to be working with leather and you know you are, then it's worth investing into the tools, because the better tools do make it work better. I mean, it is nicer. It's a lot more fun to work with when you have better tools. But again, if you end up saying, you know, I really don't like working with leather and I don't like the smell or whatever, then you end up with a bunch of stuff you don't need. So I think other than finishing up with the video, that's all you really need to know as far as how it goes with lasers. But if there's something I left out or something else you want to know about, please leave it in the description. I'll finish up this wallet and then I'll show it at the end, and so everybody can see it in all its glory. But again, a lot of the steps are unnecessary. So I hope you learned something, and I hope to teach you more. So I'm sure whatever I left out, let me know. All right. I'll see you in the next one.